وكانوا بشركائهم كافرين. صوت
أحسنت.
Thank you, Brother Ahmed. If we can please welcome to the podium of the stage a short poem and Sister Jana Hamud. بعد صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
Just a second. Wait.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Saleh Qazwini, and I am going to recite I Give Them Away. It's about Banin. For the holy five, none returned alive. I raised them that way. For Muhammad's sons, my moons became sons. I gave them away. I am a mother, and yet I am not a mother. I was given 4 sons, and yet I chose holy lights. All of my children I'd gather, Ali and his sons, and Muhammad and his daughter. I loved every name. My sons weren't the same. Their lives for them sway. For Muhammad's sons, my moons became suns, like Muhammad's eyes. Before your flag, make sure your body on that dust lies. O moon, make sure you set to let Muhammad's sun rise. This is Muhammad, worth the blood you've bled. Let swords on you pray. For Muhammad's sons, my moons became sons. I gave them away. O Abdullah, when you see thousands in the army, recall Hussayn when against 4,000 stood Ali. Stand in front of Yazid, raising Ali's name proudly. Draw your sword and cry, O Ali, you will see beauty. O son of Haidar, break open Khaybar and in your madhab slay. For Muhammad's sons, my moons became sons. I gave them away. O Ja'far, I give you to Hassan the forgotten. Show him he's not alone when your wounds for him open. And when arrows strike your chest, remember his poison. Let the sword chew your river like his was broken. When your soul returns, the Prince of Heavens his grace will display. For Muhammad's sons, my moons became sons. I gave them away. O Rahman, O last of all my sons, let your blood rain. Make your body a carpet for the feet of Hussayn. If you're hurt by arrows, remember your brother's pain. Do not turn away from the sword until you are slain. When he stands alone, challenge Yazid's throne. Make it fall today. For Muhammad's sons, my moons became sons. I give them away. O Fatima, I am Banin, your servant. I hold 2 severed hands, but for them I don't lament. I will mourn your broken rib until my last moment, and mourn with you and Zainab when Hussayn leaves the tent. For Hussayn these hands, with him no one stands, his grief turns hair gray. For Muhammad's sons, my moons became sons, I gave them away. That's it.
Come on.
Please allow salawat for Sister Jannah.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Put it here. Yeah, شكرا. Yeah. صلوا على محمد. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ذلك ومن يعظم شعائر الله فإنها من تقوى القلوب. For the love of Rasulullah and his holy family, صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Once again, we have begun the season of Muharram, beginning a new year. And as we begin the new year, we are reminded of the tragedies that fell on the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. The tragedies that fell on Imam al-Hussayn and his holy household. And year after year, once again, we see millions of people have come out to commemorate the tragedy of Imam al-Hussayn and show their sorrow to Rasulullah, to Amir al-Mu'mineen, to Fatima al-Zahra for the tragedies of Aba Abdullah al-Hussayn. And this is a phenomenon that is not noticed with anyone other than with Imam al-Hussayn. Year after year, more people remember Imam al-Hussayn. Year after year, more people shed tears for Imam al-Hussayn. Year after year, more cities hold the majalis of Imam al-Hussayn in different languages, different cultures, all grieving for Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. This is something that you don't see with anyone. Usually, a tragedy is forgotten as time passes, but with Imam al-Hussayn, as time passes, the tragedy becomes greater and greater. More people are gravitated towards Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. So some people, and many people ask, how is this? How is this possible? What is the secret behind Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam that year after year more people remember him? People walk hundreds of miles just to reach the grave of Imam al-Hussayn and stand in front of the dome of Aba Abdullah and say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. People spend thousands of dollars every year just to glorify the cause of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. What is this? People ask, how is this possible that a person who died, who was killed over 1,000 years ago, until today, he is remembered in such a way? This is one question that we will try to answer. A second, my dear brothers and sisters, some people, they ask, why are we mourning Imam al-Hussayn? Who was the first to mourn Imam al-Hussayn? Is this something that the Shi'as are just making up? Gathering and weeping and shedding tears and holding aza for Imam al-Hussayn? What is the legitimacy behind the mourning of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam? And third, my dear brothers and sisters, a very important take-home lesson is, what is the purpose of the aza of Imam al-Hussayn? Are we just holding these majalis just for the sake of showing sorrow? Or is there something greater? Or is there a greater cause that we all have to achieve? The first question, my dear brothers and sisters, why is Imam al-Hussayn remembered in such a way? Over 1,000 years after his martyrdom, and he is remembered in a way like no one ever in history. Even the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt, the other Imams of the Ahlul Bayt, they are not remembered the way Imam al-Hussayn is remembered. Of course, there's a reason behind this. The Ahlul Bayt and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi legislated and promoted and encouraged the buka and the aza for Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. And the reason behind this is because Imam al-Hussayn, his movement from A to Z was purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are many revolutions, there are many wars, there are many battles that take place. Perhaps these wars, more people are killed in these battles in terms of numbers. World War II, over 50 million people were killed in World War II. World War II, over $3 or $4 trillion was spent on that war. The war of Karbala, the battle of Imam al-Hussayn, was a battle that a couple hundred people were killed, including Imam al-Hussayn, of course, Sayyid Shababi Ahl al-Jannah, the master of the youth of paradise, along with his family members, along with his brothers, his cousins, his children, and his companions. But other than that, a couple hundred people were killed, and it was a battle that did not last more than a few hours. Imam al-Hussayn woke up on the dawn of Muharram, on the 10th of Muharram, and by the time of Asr prayer, Imam al-Hussayn and his companions had all been killed. A battle that did not last more than a few hours. In terms of casualties, we have seen wars that have had much more casualties, much more losses. Yet the battle of Karbala is still remembered. Why? Because Imam al-Hussayn was a revolutionary, but not like any other revolutionary. Imam al-Hussayn had a cause, but not like any other movement that were also after a cause. Imam al-Hussayn, his movement from A to Z was purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this genuine sincerity of Imam al-Hussayn is the reason that made his movement survive until today. Even though he was killed, his family were killed, his blood was spilled in the land of Karbala, yet Imam al-Hussayn is the one who was victorious. Today, if someone is looking at history, Yazid, yes, he killed Imam al-Hussayn. He ended up ruling for 3 years, but Imam al-Hussayn is the king of kings. Imam al-Hussayn is the one who is remembered year after year and day after day. Why? Because of that genuine sincerity for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a lesson for us, my dear brothers and sisters. If you want to do anything in life, make the intention that you do this liwajhillah. Make the intention that you do this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you do that, Allah will give a boost to whatever you're doing. Allah will give power to whatever you're doing, because everyone dies. Everything dies. The kings, the rulers, the presidents, the billionaires, everyone will die. كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. You want to remain? You want to become eternal? Then attach yourself to the eternal. Attach yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever you do it for the sake of God, and Allah will give that life. You will see that will grow. مَا كَانَ لِلَّهِ يَنْمُو. Whatever is for God, it will grow. And whatever is for this dunya, you might just see it for a couple of years in this dunya and then it fades away. Imam al-Hussayn, his movement from A to Z was for the sake of Allah. This is why when we say salam to Imam al-Hussayn, we say As-salamu alayka ya thar Allah wa ibn tharih. You revolted purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today we have revolutionaries. We have people that start movements, but these movements are for the sake of their own power, for the sake of something on their mind. And there's nothing wrong with having movements. But Imam al-Hussayn, his movement was purely for Allah. Now today there are some groups that try to tarnish the image of Imam al-Hussayn, and they come and they say, yeah, Imam al-Hussayn, he fought for the sake of power and he tried to take the power from Yazid and therefore he was killed, making it a political movement, purely a political movement. However, the movement of Imam al-Hussayn was not a political movement. Imam al-Hussayn was not a politician. Imam al-Hussayn was a man of God. Imam al-Hussayn had a purpose, and that purpose, he says it clearly when he begins his movement. إِنِّي لَمْ أَخْرُجْ أَشِرًا وَلَا بَطِرًا وَلَا مُفْسِدًا وَلَا ظَالِمًا وَإِنَّمَا خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ عَلَى سِيرِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ وَأَبِي أَمِيرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. He says, إِنِّي لَمْ أَخْرُجْ أَشِرًا وَلَا بَطِرًا. I'm not revolting. I'm not declaring a stance against Yazid for the sake of power or to cause fitna in the community. No. إِنِّي خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ. I'm revolting. I'm standing so that I could reform the ummah of my grandfather. Because just 50 years after the death of the Prophet, a man like Yazid ascends the throne. A man whose father fought Rasulullah. A man whose grandfather waged wars against the Prophet. Now he comes and he is declaring to be not just a political leader, not just a king, but he's declaring to be the Khalifa of Rasulullah, the representative of the Holy Prophet on earth. And this is a catastrophe. So Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam, he decided to take a stance against that man and take a stance against Yazid. And this is why his movement was purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the movement of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam was a movement for the sake of Allah. And that is what gave life to the movement of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. The second reason, my dear brothers and sisters, what is it that gave legitimacy to the movement of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam? What is it that made people continue remembering Imam al-Hussayn? Why is Imam al-Hussayn remembered like no one else? Even Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, we love Rasulullah. We believe Rasulullah is greater than Imam al-Hussayn. We believe Amir al-Mu'mineen is greater than Imam al-Hussayn. We believe Imam al-Hasan is greater than Imam al-Hussayn, because these are the words of Imam al-Hussayn himself. He says with Imam al-Hussayn was not just purely about Imam al-Hussayn. Imam al-Hussayn became much bigger than just the person Imam al-Hussayn. Imam al-Hussayn, when he stood against Yazid, he represented a movement. He represented a stance against all injustice in the world. So if you are standing with Imam al-Hussayn, that means you represent all of those who stand against injustice, from the time of Yazid until today. And this is why the enemies of Imam al-Hussein, they didn't just want to kill Imam al-Hussein himself. They wanted to send a message to anyone who stands against them. On the day of Ashura, they could have just killed Imam al-Hussein and that's it. It would have been the story would have been over if it was just about Imam al-Hussein. But they wanted to make an example of Imam al-Hussein to the world. This is why Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, he writes a letter to Shimr ibn al-Jawshan. He tells him, when you reach Karbala, you kill Hussein. After you kill Hussein, فَالْتَطَأِ الْخَيْلُ صَدْرَهُ وَظَهْرَهُ. Let the hooves of the horses crush his chest and his back. And second, they began to parade the head of Imam al-Hussein across the Muslim world. Why? Why would they do that? Because they wanted to make an example of Imam al-Hussein. They wanted to say, anyone who dares stand against us, anyone who dares stand against our authority and our power, then we will crush this person the same way we crushed the son of the Prophet. So now Imam al-Hussein is much greater than just Imam al-Hussein the person. And until today, you see an animosity towards Imam al-Hussein. There are people that get uncomfortable when Imam al-Hussein is remembered. There are people that do not like the majalis of Imam al-Hussein. And throughout history, Bani Umayyah, after killing Imam al-Hussein, go and read in history how many times they destroyed the grave of Imam al-Hussein. How many times did Bani al-Abbas destroy the grave of Imam al-Hussein? Until recently, Saddam would not allow the visitation of Imam al-Hussein. ISIS came, they started threatening the Zawar of Imam al-Hussein. Why? This is because Imam al-Hussein is not just a person. Imam al-Hussein symbolizes a movement. And because he symbolizes a movement, the Prophet, Amir al-Mu'mineen, and the Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt, they all encourage people to continue remembering Imam al-Hussein, despite the dangers, despite the difficulties. You know, Hajj, when you go to Hajj, Allah says in the Quran, لِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. Hajj is wajib only if you're mustati', only if you're financially capable, physically capable, you're able to go to Hajj, Hajj becomes wajib upon you. The Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt, during dangerous times, during the time of Bani al-Abbas, during the time of Bani Umayyah, the Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt would encourage people to go and visit Imam al-Hussein. Put your lives in danger and go visit Imam al-Hussein. Why? Because now the whole religion of Islam, everything that we stand for, is based upon Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. You keep the message of Imam al-Hussein alive, then therefore Islam will remain alive. You keep the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein and the memory of Imam al-Hussein alive, then all of Islam will stand. But if Imam al-Hussein is not remembered, then yes, people will be praying. The army that killed Imam al-Hussein, they prayed on the day of Ashura. Imam al-Hussein prayed on one side and they prayed on one side. You destroy the name of Imam al-Hussein, yes, people will go to Hajj, people will do ziyarah, people will fast, they will give zakat, but Islam will have lost its value. Islam will have lost that touch that kept it connected with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So this is why the Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt, and before them Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, they legislated the memory of Imam al-Hussein, keeping that memory alive. Because now it's connected with Islam. This is why when we say the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein, we say, أَشْهَدُ أَنَّكَ قَدْ أَقَمْتَ الصَّلَاةِ وَآتَيْتَ الزَّكَاةِ وَأَمَرْتَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَنَهَيْتَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. I bear witness that it was you who upheld salah. It was you who upheld the value of zakat. It was you who kept the religion of Islam alive. And my dear brothers and sisters, today we see there's a great insistence on the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein. And during the Hajj, you go to Hajj, Allah will forgive your sins, but the hadith says Allah will answer the visitors of Imam al-Hussein in Arafah. During the month of Ramadan, there's a ziyarah for Imam al-Hussein. In Sha'ban, there's a ziyarah for Imam al-Hussein. There's always a ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein. Why? Because when you keep the memory of Imam al-Hussein alive, then Islam remains healthy. Islam remains alive. And here, where's the legitimacy for all of this? Before anywhere else you go to the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. The one who, if you glorify the signs of God, then this will increase the taqwa in your heart. What are the signs of God? The signs of God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about 2 mountains in Mecca. 2 mountains in Mecca, they are signs of God. Inna Safa wal Marwata min sha'air Allah. Safa and Marwa are from the signs of God. Why? Why are these 2 mountains made out of rock from the signs of God? Because when you go and you stand between these 2 mountains, you are remembering monotheism. You're remembering the story of the father of monotheists, Ibrahim alayhi salam. When you go to Hajj, you do the tawaf, the circumambulation around the Kaaba. After you do tawaf, what do you have to do? Allah says in the Quran, وَاتَّخِذُوا مِن مَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُصَلَّى. Go and pray, not anywhere in Masjid al-Haram. Now Masjid al-Haram, it's all a sacred mosque. But you have to go and stand in a specific spot. Where? Where Ibrahim stood. وَاتَّخِذُوا مِن مَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُصَلَّى. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to remember that you are doing tawaf around the Kaaba and you're believing in God and you're a monotheist and you're a Muslim because of the sacrifices of a man named Ibrahim. Yes, remember Ibrahim. Now, you could pray directly to God, but you have to pray there. Because Ibrahim's from the sha'air of Allah. Ibrahim's from the signs of God. Now my dear brothers and sisters, if the 2 mountains, Safa and Marwa, and a place where Ibrahim stood becomes from the signs that remind you of God, is Imam al-Hussayn not amongst from the greatest signs of God? Of course he is. Imam al-Hussayn sacrificed everything. Imam al-Hussayn gave up everything. When people were unwilling to give, Imam al-Hussayn gave. And this is why, through the Quran, it gives us legitimacy to glorify and remember Imam al-Hussayn. ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Then after you go to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah, where have you seen someone who they cry for him and they mourn him and they hold a majlis aza for him before the tragedy took place? The only person is Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and go and look at the books of the Muslims, Sunni books, Shia books. The day Imam al-Hussayn was born, Rasulullah shed tears for Imam al-Hussayn and he cries for Imam al-Hussayn. He goes and he sees Imam al-Hussayn several times, he cries for him. Salama, this is narrated by Ahmad ibn Hanbal and narrated by many others. Salama, the wife of the Prophet, one day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he tells her, Ya Salama, I'm tired. I'm tired, I'm going to be resting in my room. Do not allow anyone to enter on me. So she says, I was sitting guarding the room of Rasulullah because Rasulullah is tired, he's exhausted, he's a prophet, he's a family person, he's leading a nation, leading an army, so much. So now just give him some time to rest. She says Rasulullah was in his room and I was outside next to the door guarding the door. Suddenly, a young child, Al-Hussayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, he runs past the door and he throws himself on the chest of the Prophet. So Salama, she says, I rushed in, I got up, I rushed in, I tried to carry Hussayn from the chest of his grandfather, Rasulullah. Rasulullah tells me, Ya Salama, leave him. What do you have with Hussayn? She says, didn't you tell me that do not let anyone come? He tells her, Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussayn. Hussayn is from me and I am from Hussayn. I meant others. I did not mean Hussayn. Hussayn is a part of my flesh. Hussayn is a part of my blood. So she says, I left Rasulullah and he was playing with his grandson Hussayn. Rasulullah was laying on his back and Hussayn was on his chest and the Prophet was playing with him, She says, I left. Then a short while later, I look into the room and I see Rasulullah weeping. I say, why is the Prophet weeping? Who is weeping when they're playing with their grandson? So she says, I come to Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, what has happened? Why are you weeping? What has happened to you? He tells her, Oh Salama, Jibreel just came to me. And he informed me that my son Hussayn will be killed by my ummah. A group of people that attribute themselves to me, attribute themselves to my religion. They will have the audacity to kill my son Hussayn, and he will be killed in the land of Karbala. And Jibreel even gave me the soil of Karbala. The turab of Karbala, the soil of Karbala, it goes back to the time of the Prophet. The Prophet talks about the soil of Karbala. And he gives Salama a piece of that soil. And he tells her, Oh Salama, when you see the soil turn red into blood, then know that my son Hussayn has been killed. And the narration says that 50 years later, Salama is in Medina, and she sees that jar that had the soil, it turned blood, it turned red, and she realized that Imam al-Hussayn has been killed. My dear brothers and sisters, these are not exaggerations. Zainab alayhi salam, when she goes to Kufa and she goes to Sham, she tells them, أَفَعَجِبْتُمْ أَعَجِبْتُمْ أَنْ مَطَرَتِ السَّمَاءِ دَمًا? Are you surprised that the earth, that the sky began to rain blood for Hussayn? Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani and many other scholars, Sunni scholars, they say even in Bayt al-Maqdis, even in Jerusalem, they would lift a rock on the day of Ashura and under it they would see boiling blood. Imam al-Hussayn is no ordinary person. Imam al-Hussayn is the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So yes, Rasulullah cried for Imam al-Hussayn. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, he wept for Imam al-Hussayn. After the battle of Siffin, Amir al-Mu'mineen passed by Karbala. And there they narrate that he began to weep in front of his companions. He says, ah, ah, ah. And then he says, from this land, a group of people who will go directly to paradise. They are martyrs, they will go directly to paradise, and they are with my son Hussayn. And then he looks at his son Imam al-Hussayn and he tells him, Sabran ya Aba Abdullah, be patient, O Aba Abdullah. Imam al-Hussayn was with him. And then the Imams, one after the other, they encouraged the majalis of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam, holding majalis just as we are sitting right now, grieving and weeping and lamenting Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. But my dear brothers and sisters, is that all that we are supposed to do? Hold majalis for Imam al-Hussayn? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet, the Imams, they don't want from us just to cry, even though crying by itself for Imam al-Hussayn is thawab. It's enough. Crying is not enough. We need to have more. Crying gives you thawab, but there should be more that comes out of this. When you attend the majalis of Imam al-Hussayn, you should be reminded of God. Imam al-Hussayn should make you have a transformation in your life. Imam al-Hussayn should be the reason that you change your life around. The hadith of Rasulullah says, إِنَّ الْحُسَيْنِ مِصْبَاحُ الْهُدَى وَسَفِينَةُ النَّجَاةِ. Hussayn is the beacon of light and the ark of salvation. Have you seen a lighthouse in the middle of the ocean? A ship is sailing in the darkness. Suddenly they see the light. They are guided by that light. Rasulullah compared Imam al-Hussayn to that light. وَسَفِينَةُ النَّجَاةِ, and the ark of salvation, the lifeboat, not just any ship out there in the sea. It's the one that comes and saves those who are drowning. This is Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. When you're drowning, when you're falling in the challenges of life, when you're struggling with your iman, when you're struggling with your salah, when you're struggling with your faith, when you have family struggles, when you have social struggles, turn to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam And there's a hadith from Rasulullah. He says, مَثَلُ أَهْلُ بَيْتِي فِيكُمْ كَسَفِينَةِ نُوح. He says, the analogy of my Ahlul Bayt amongst you is like the ark of Noah. مَنْ رَكِبَهَا نَجَى وَمَنْ تَخَلَّفَ عَنْهَا غَرِقَ وَهَوَى. The one who rode the ark of Noah, they were saved. And the one who refused, even the son of Noah, he says, I'll go on a mountain. They drowned. The Ahlul Bayt, they are like Noah's ark, according to the hadith of the Prophet. And Imam al-Hussayn, his ark is the one that saves thousands of people every year. Thousands of people, miraculously. This is a phenomenon that you have not seen with anyone else. Where do thousands of people put their lives on hold and they come and they attend the majalis of Imam al-Hussayn? This is Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given Imam al-Hussayn, and therefore people remember Imam al-Hussayn. So my dear brothers and sisters, when you gather to remember Imam al-Hussayn, let the majlis of Imam al-Hussayn bring you closer to God. Second, let the majlis of Imam al-Hussayn be a place that you go to learn. We don't want to just come and practice rituals without learning, without changing our lives. We have to learn. Anytime you attend a majlis, you have to leave having learned something new. And third, my dear brothers and sisters, be inspired by Imam al-Hussayn. Be inspired. Imam al-Hussayn is not just a leader for the Muslims. Imam al-Hussayn is not just a leader for the Shia. Imam al-Hussayn is a humanitarian role model for us. Imam al-Hussayn teaches us to abolish racism. Because in the camp of Imam al-Hussayn, you had the black and the white, and everyone was in the camp of Imam al-Hussayn. Imam al-Hussayn teaches us to remove the grudges from our hearts. Today, a lot of us, we are burdened, we are held down by grudges against this person and that person. And that makes us live a difficult life. Imam al-Hussayn, Al-Hurr bin Yazid al-Riyahi, the same man who caused Imam al-Hussayn to be where he was. He kept Imam al-Hussayn away from the river. He forced Imam al-Hussayn to camp far from the river. He says, أَنَا الَّذِي جَعْجَعْتُ بِكَ فِي الطَّرِيقِ. Al-Hurr, on the day of Ashura, he changed. And he comes to Imam al-Hussayn and he asks for forgiveness. And Imam al-Hussayn, without holding a grudge, he forgives him right away. Isn't this something big? If I'm able to forgive the way Imam al-Hussayn forgave, if I'm able to remove the racism and bigotry from my heart the same way Imam al-Hussayn did, if I am able to give to my enemies the same way Imam al-Hussayn gave, then I will live a much different lifestyle. I'll be free from all the burdens. Imam al-Hussayn has a humanitarian message as well. So be inspired by Imam al-Hussayn. Make Imam al-Hussayn your hero. Make Al-Abbas your hero. Make Al-Qasim your hero. Ali al-Akbar, Habib ibn Mudahir, the companions of Imam al-Hussayn. These are role models that we have to be inspired by. This is why, my dear brothers and sisters, the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt, they encouraged the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. And they encouraged the crying for Imam al-Hussayn. Imam al-Rida, he cries for his grandfather Imam al-Hussayn. إِنَّ يَوْمَ الْحُسَيْنِ أَقْرَحَ جُفُونَنَا وَأَسْبَلَ دُمُوعَنَا وَأَذَلَّ عَزِيزَنَا وَأَوْرَثَنَا الْكَرْبَ وَالْبَلَاء فَعَلَى مِثْلِ الْحُسَيْنِ فَلْيَبْكِ الْبَاكُونَ. He says, the day of Hussayn made us cry. The day of Hussayn made us become full of sorrow and grief. So cry for Imam al-Hussayn. And the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt, they encouraged their companions to cry for Imam al-Hussayn. Imam al-Sadiq, he says, إِنَّ الْبُكَاء وَالْجَزَعْ مَكْرُوهِ لِلْعَبْدِ. It's makruh, it's disliked to cry. If you have a relative who passed away, it's makruh to continue crying for this person. It's not liked. However, إِلَّا عَلَى الْحُسَيْنِ فَإِنَّهُ فِيهِ مَأْجُورٌ. You will receive reward for crying for Imam al-Hussayn. Why? Because Imam al-Hussayn is not just the person. Imam al-Hussayn is the idea. And if you're attached to Imam al-Hussayn, then therefore you will always remain with the truth. You will always stand against injustice and oppression. And today, look in the Muslim world. Those who stand with Imam al-Hussayn, you see they have the guts to stand against the greatest superpowers. Why? Because Imam al-Hussayn inspires us. Because year after year, we are inspired by Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. And we see the Imams, they all would cry for Imam al-Hussayn. Rasulullah cried, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Hassan on his deathbed, he was dying, he began to cry for his brother Imam al-Hussayn. He says, I cry for you, O Hussayn, because 30,000 will gather to fight you. And then Imam Zayn al-Abidin, who witnessed the tragedy in front of him, in front of his eyes. He was an eyewitness to the murder of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. Imam Zayn al-Abidin lived for 30 years, over 30 years after the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussayn, and he would always cry and weep for his father Imam al-Hussayn. They bring food in front of him. That food, it would get filled with his tears for his father Imam al-Hussayn. They bring water for him. That water would be filled with tears for Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. He would go and he would stand by the butchers at the butcher market. He stands by the butchers and he tells them, Ya ma'ashar al-qassabin, O butchers, before you slaughter the sheep, do you give it some water? They tell him, yes, O son of Rasulullah. This is what your grandfather taught us. This is what Islam came and taught us, to have mercy with an animal before it would be slaughtered. Then he would face towards Karbala and he would cry for his father Imam al-Hussayn, and he would say, but my father Hussayn was butchered without giving a drop of water. This is what they did to Imam al-Hussayn. And the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt, they would all weep and hold majalis for Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. And they would weep and keep the memory of Imam al-Hussayn alive. One of the companions of Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, he comes to visit the Imam. And the Imam tells him, you're a poet. Do you know some poetry? He tells him, yes, of course I know some poetry. He tells him, can you recite some poetry for my grandfather Hussayn? The man, Abu Harun al-Makfuf, he wanted to begin reciting. Then the Imam tells him, wait a second. He goes and he calls his children. He goes and he calls the women. He puts them all in a room. And then he tells Abu Harun al-Makfuf, he tells him, I want you to recite for me the same way you recite over the grave of Hussayn, over the grave of Abu Abdullah. Make me weep. Recite it in a way to make me cry. I want to cry for my grandfather Hussayn. So Abu Harun al-Makfuf, he begins by reciting this poem, أمرر على جدث الحسين وقل لأعظمه الزكية يا أعظم لا زلت من وطفاء ساكبة روية. أمرر على جدث الحسين وقل لأعظمه الزكية يا أعظم لا زلت من وطفاء ساكبة روية ما لذ عيش بعد رضك بالجياد الأعوجية. فإذا مررت بقبره فأطل به وقف المطية وابكي المطهر للمطهر والمطهرة الزكية كبكاء معولة أبكت لواحدها المنية. He says, go and visit the grave of Hussayn. Go and visit the corpse of Imam al-Hussayn. You know, my dear brothers and sisters, Imam al-Hussayn was not killed like a normal person. Imam al-Hussayn, his body was mutilated on the day of Ashura. They brought the hooves of the horses to crush the chest and the back of Imam al-Hussayn. And then they paraded the body, they paraded the head of Imam al-Hussayn across the Muslim land. So he tells him, Umrar ala jadath al-Hussayn, go and visit the corpse of Hussayn. You will see a body that is fully mutilated. Nothing is left from that body. The bones of the body of Hussayn have been crushed by the hooves of the horses, and you shall cry for the at the grave of Hussayn. While Abu Harun al-Makfuf was reciting, one of the daughters of Imam al-Sadiq, she begins to cry very loudly. So Abu Harun, he stopped out of respect for her. But Imam al-Sadiq, he tells him, continue reciting for us. Oh, please, oh Abu Harun. So he begins to recite, Ya Maryam, qumi wandubi mawlaki wa ala al-Husayn fas'adi bibukaki. Continue crying for your grandfather Hussayn. Another poet by the name of Da'bil ibn Ali al-Khuza'i, he goes to visit Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Rida. Imam al-Rida, he tells him, oh Da'bil, I heard that you have a poem in honor of my grandfather Hussayn. He tells him, yes, I came all the way from Kufa just to recite it for you. So he begins to recite, and he begins by giving condolences to the mother of Imam al-Hussayn. He gives condolences to Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam. أفاطم لو خلت الحسين مجدلا وقد مات عطشانا بشط فراتي. Oh Fatima, only if you were there to see your son Hussayn die thirsty in the river of the Euphrates. وَقَدْ مَاتَ عَطْشَانًا بِشَطِّ فُرَاتِي إِذَا لَلَطَمْتِ الْخَدَّ فاطم عنده وأجريت دمع العين بالوجنات. If you had seen him, you would have wept, and you would have slapped your face when you see what happened to your son Hussayn. أفاطم قومي يا ابنة الخير واندبي نجوم سماوات بأرض فلات. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. تابع اللهم بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات. إنك مجيب الدعوات، إنك غافر الخطيئات، إنك على كل شيء قدير. Let us all recite the dua for the Imam of our time. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
أحسنتم. Thank you.
If we can please welcome Brother Ahmed to the podium with a loud salawat for the Taniyya. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Brother Majid. We'll do one more loud salawat for Brother Majid. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
افزع من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
عاشور هالهلالة مأجور باستقباله. عاشور هالهلالة مأجور باستقباله. عاشور الهلالة مأجور باستقباله. على خدودي شجاها دموعي هماله. على خدودي شجاها دموعي هماله. شهر عاشور قالوا بين هلاله. شهر عاشور قالوا بين هلاله. عاشور هالهلالة مأجور باستقباله. عاشور هالهلالة مأجور باستقباله. صحيت لا هلا بجيتك عسى لا هليت. عساها برومد عيني وليك ما صديت. غير النايحة بداري الوحش خليت. بكيت الرسول المصطفى وعالم. بكيت الرسول المصطفى وعالم. عاشور الليلة مأجور لاستقبال إليك. عاشور مأجور يا شهر المصايب والطوم والنوح. هلالك لما تشوفه بسمانه يلوح. يهيج كل مدامعنا على المذبوح. يخبرنا جرى على حسين وعياله. يخبرنا جرى على حسين مأجور لاستقبال إليك عاشور مصابك بينا ما تبرد نذيب لوني البياض ونيل بس الأسود يا الجمرد مصابك بينا ما تبرد واليوم الحشر يا حسين تتوقد والمكسور قلب النوح يحلاله والمكسور قلب النوح يحلاله والمكسور قلب النوح يحلاله عاشور الهلال مأجور باستقباله عاشور الهلال مأجور باستقباله عذب ما عذب ما يشحلات من هالحسين من هالحسين عذب ما يشحلات من هالحسين ونذرت الروح قدمة منها لحسين هلالك يا محرم من هالحسين انذبح وتدوس صدر الأعوجية هي انذبح وتدوس صدر هي الأعوجية أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Just a few pieces of housekeeping before we officially end for the evening.
Doing English with me.
Oh, English with me. My apologies.
But it's on YouTube, it's not.
All right. While we cue that up, I think after the English with me, it will be the end of the program. So a few housekeeping items. In the spirit of making this our home and keeping it our home, if there are any water bottles, tissues, things of that nature around you, if you don't mind picking them up on your way out and helping to keep the place clean, we greatly would appreciate it. And then a few reminders, if anyone would like to be added to the list to either read poetry or Legitimacy, please let one of us know and we'll be happy to help get you to the list. Yep.
In any language.
In any language, yep, absolutely. And we are almost ready. I'm ready.